Girl's swollen hand reveals sinister secret. Doctors expose haunted terrors unseen for 5 years. Emma stared at her hand, pulses of panic racing through her veins. It had swelled to nearly twice its normal size, twisted veins a sickly shade of deep green, almost alive. She wondered if she might be cursed, as whispers stirred through the lilac-hued twilight in their suburban neighborhood. In the last 5 years, the streets had been marked by unsettling occurrences that left no explanations. The houses still stood gleaming under the moonlight, yet horrid mysteries crept between them, hidden from casual observers. Her mother, Laura, with worry etched into her brow, felt the weight of dread settle like a stone in her stomach. Each visit to yet another doctor had led to accusations of overactive imaginations, leaving Emma's hand grotesque and painful, but still unexplained. "It's just anxiety," one doctor had muttered dismissively, but how could her sweet girl be anxious when she spent her days climbing trees and riding her bike? As days melted into restless nights, Laura began to notice shadows flitting behind the oak trees, flickering just beyond her vision. Something was lurking, wrapping itself around their perfect suburban life, squeezing tighter with every pulse of Emma's disfigured hand. She found her thoughts drifting to stories spun by elders in her neighborhood, haunting tales about curses that slithered through yards just like the vines crawling along the fences. Fueled by a mother's instinct, she dove into research at the local library, hair-raising accounts of gatherings shrouded in secrecy, strange symbols and disappearances whispered among the dusty books. One evening, hands trembling, she ran her fingers over an old newspaper. "Local girl missing, town gripped by fear." Each article felt like a knife twisting deeper into her heart. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. The tension culminated when Emma began to scream at night. The dreams that haunted her sent shivers through Laura, bringing back forgotten fears of motherhood, her ability to shield her daughter from lurking darkness. What was happening to Emma? Under the pale light of the moon, Laura examined the symbols that now pulsed faintly on her daughter's hand. They weren't just veins, they were warnings, messages locked in flesh, crying to be deciphered. As the cool air thickened with unwelcoming mystery, Laura confronted Mrs. Gibbons, their seemingly sweet neighbor. The old woman's eyes darkened, nerves coiling into anger as she warned, "You don't want to stir the pot, dear." Laura felt the ground beneath her tremble with unspoken truths. Each setback felt heavier, but what would it take to unravel the curse? Then came the evening when Emma vanished from their home. The air crackled as fear surged through Laura's veins. Wild whispers echoed around her as she raced through the familiar streets. Their idyllic neighborhood transformed into a web of lurking dangers, a shadowy place where friendship and fear entwined. The whispers grew louder, hinting at betrayal, as darkness closed in tighter, driving Laura into a terrified frenzy. Who had taken her daughter, and what hidden horrors festered in their midst? The truth lay deeper than any neighborhood secret, entwined like the veins snaking across Emma's hand. Laura stumbled down the narrow, tree-lined streets, heart pounding like a drum in her ears. Her breath came in ragged gasps, the chilling air filling her lungs with unshakable dread. She called Emma's name, voice trembling, but all that answered was an echo, fading into the dark. The moonlight barely pierced through the branches, casting ominous shadows that danced around her like ghosts. "Emma!" She screamed again, desperation clawing at her throat. It felt like the whole world was holding its breath with her, waiting for the answer to a question no one would dare ask. The neighborhood felt different now. Each house, once a sanctuary, seemed to lean in with sinister intent, their windows like unblinking eyes. She rushed toward Mrs. Gibbons' home. Was she hiding something? The old woman's warning rang in her mind, loud and clear. "Don't stir the pot." What did it mean? What pot? With no time to waste, Laura knocked violently on the door. Silence. She kicked it, rage mixing with fear, and waited, poised for both fury and apprehension. The creaking sound from behind her was the last thing she expected. Laura spun around, eyes wide, as the door swung open, and Mrs. Gibbons appeared, a smirk creeping across her face, as if she'd been expecting her. "Looking for something, dear?" The old woman's voice dripped with mockery. "Where's Emma?" Laura shouted, feeling the incoming tide of darkness brush past her skin. "Such a lovely creature, she is so full of life," Mrs. Gibbons said, stepping closer, her shadow swallowing any light that dared to creep near. "But children can be misplaced so easily." Panic surged in Laura. "You know where she is. Please, you have to help me." "Help? Oh, but I think your help is long gone," Mrs. Gibbons whispered, a flicker of something now hidden deep in her eyes, something horrible and ancient. The shadows behind her seemed to thicken as she leaned in closer. "Maybe it's time you find out what the neighborhood has always known." A chilling laugh escaped Mrs. Gibbons, echoing through the night. Laura pulled away, shaking, stumbling back as the darkness seemed to pulse around her, relentless and mocking. She turned, bolting back into the street, where Emma's laughter had always echoed through the night. But there was no laughter now. Only the solitude of the waking nightmare, and her voice calling out into the void. Days passed like seconds as Laura scoured the neighborhood, unearthing fragments of chilling truths whispered behind closed doors. Rumors swirled about a gathering, a celebration, they called it held in secret like a festering wound on the town's face. Something primal flickered in the back of her mind, the stories of vanished children echoed louder and louder, and all the roads led back to Mrs. Gibbons. That night, the air felt like a noose tightening around her throat. The last tendrils of hope slipped through her fingers as Laura stood outside, staring at the crooked silhouette of Mrs. Gibbons' house, the ominous energy vibrating like a heartbeat. Shadows slithered against the walls, whispering secrets of old. In her heart, a cold resolve formed. Suddenly, a crashing sound shattered the night. Laura spun, heart in her throat, and gasped as she saw the silhouette of Emma at the end of the street, her form twisted and unnatural, the light catching the grotesque markings on her hand. "Mom!" Emma's voice rang out, but it was not her child's voice. Something was wrong, but could it be salvaged? As Laura stepped closer, hesitation gripping her like an ice-cold hand, the shadows shifted slightly behind Emma. More figures loomed, dark and formless, laughing silently. Fear surged through Laura, her instincts screamed, "Run!" But Emma was right there, the girl she loved. Would she be willing to uncover the truth hiding in plain sight, no matter the cost? Then everything went black. What lay behind those eyes? And would Laura be strong enough to face whatever hell awaited her? Laura's eyes fluttered open, the world around her blurred and disorienting. Gritty soil pressed against her cheek, gritty and cold, the scent of damp earth mingled with something more putrid. She sprang up, scanning her surroundings, breath hitching in her chest. Gone was the street. Instead, she found herself in a clearing hemmed in by towering trees twisted in strange shapes, their gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. "Emma!" she croaked, throat raw and aching. The name tore from her, but even in this strange place, only silence answered. Panic swelled again, this time tightening into an unbearable knot. The shadows that crept around the trees pulsated, dark and ominous, dancing to the rhythm of her fear. Something rustled nearby, and Laura's heart lodged in her throat. She spun around, caught off guard by the hopelessness hanging thick in the air. To her right stood figures, indistinct at first, shifting like mirages within the trees. Her hands quaked as she raised them, fighting against the overwhelming dread. "Who is there?" she shouted, voice trembling. From the gloom stepped a child, small and frail, their face hidden beneath a tattered hood. Laura's heart leaped, a flicker of hope igniting. "Emma?" The child looked up, and the face that emerged was not that of her daughter. Instead, it was a nightmarish mask, eyes wide and blank, skin pulled tight over its bones, a grim visage of despair. "Help us," it whispered, words tumbling out like brittle leaves. "She is waiting, she is coming." No. Where's Emma? Laura cried, backing away, the darkness closing in. The figure pointed into the thick fog gathering at the edge of the clearing. You have to go before she takes you too. A laugh echoed, chilling Laura to her core. It came from the shadows behind the child, deep and resonant, stopping her cold. So eager, aren't we? The voice sliced through the air, slithering around her. From the fog, Mrs. Gibbons emerged, that same sinister smile splitting her face. Did you enjoy your little nap, dear? Her eyes glinted like polished stones, hungry and ancient. It looks like you've stumbled into our little gathering. How sweet. Hiding what? Laura panted, consumed by confusion and fear, each word like shards of glass in her throat. Secrets. Horrors unseen like the one in your heart. Mrs. Gibbons stepped closer, her form blurring at the edges, shadowy tendrils coiling like vipers. This is where the lost children come to play until they're ready, but not all can leave. Not all are meant to. Laura swallowed hard, voice shaking. You can't take Emma. She felt the weight of despair crashing over her, but beneath it all, anger ignited. I will find her. Will you? Mrs. Gibbons scoffed, eyes narrowing. Each path you take comes with a cost. Are you willing to pay it? Are you willing to lose yourself to find her? Terror wrapped around Laura like a vice. Behind Mrs. Gibbons, shadows twisted, figures coalescing into forms that echoed the houses she knew, faces caught between recognition and horror, their eyes hollow with despair. Turning, she sprinted towards the fog, desperation propelling her forward. The distant wails of children echoed, ghostly and mournful. The deeper she ran into the woods, the more a malevolent presence bore down on her. Help! She screamed as the fog thickened, enveloping her in a choking embrace. Shadows laughed, their whispers echoing behind her, taunting her futile escape. Just when hope began to flicker out, she stumbled upon a clearing. A spectral glow broke through the canopy overhead. In the center lay a twisted tree, its roots sprawling like a dark web, and at its base, something glinted, catching her eye. Emma! A form lay nestled among the roots, a small shape cradled in the dark, as twisted as the tree itself. Laura ran toward it, breathless, hope clawing back as she reached for whatever lay between her and the nightmarish reality. But was it truly her daughter? Or had the darkness reached out to claim her as well? With a deep breath, Laura plunged into the shadows, on the brink of discovery, where the line between salvation and doom blurred in the dim light. What waited in the depths of that darkness? Would Laura dare confront it? The air grew colder as Laura approached the glimmering form. She knelt by the roots, her heart pounding, breath coming in frantic bursts. As she reached out, the coldness spread through her fingers, a tingling sensation that sent a shiver down her spine. The figure beneath the twisted roots stirred. Emma? She whispered, voice cracking. She brushed the dirt away, revealing a hand, pale and delicate but impossibly twisted, fingers bent at unnatural angles. Laura recoiled, the grip of fear tightening her chest. The ghostly glow pulsed faintly, revealing an ashen face framed by tangled strands of hair. Help me! The voice was a mere rasp, thin and stretched like the bark of the cursed tree. Please! Just tell me where you are. Laura pleaded, desperation washing over her. But as she leaned closer, the face twisted into a smile, a cruel mockery of affection. Mommy, don't you see? I'm here. I'm safe. Panic surged anew as the face morphed into the form of Mrs. Gibbons. The colors drained away, the glow fading into the bleakness surrounding Laura. You're so close, yet so far. No. Laura gasped, staggering back. Despair flooded through her veins, dragging her deeper into the void. She remembered the child's words, the warning to run, to escape. But how could she leave now? In the thickening fog, shadows began to swirl, rising up as if awakened by her distress. They took shape, familiar forms with hollow eyes, lost souls searching for a savior just like her. Each shadow seemed to whisper, calling her name, urging her to join them. One of us, the gravitational pull of their longing ensnared her thoughts. No. I want to be trapped. She screamed, forcing herself to stand straight, fighting against the tide of despair. But the shadows surged forward, enveloping her, their chilling laughter echoing all around. They all help us, the voices melded together, a cacophony that throbbed in her ears. Then she made a choice. Heart racing, Laura turned toward the tree, digging her fingers into the roots, desperately searching. Emma! Where are you? The ground shifted beneath her palms, a warning. The whispers grew more urgent, tinged with malice. Leave while you can. Laura yanked back, a black tendril coiling around her ankle like barbed wire. It tugged at her, dragging her down. She kicked furiously, panic igniting a flame within, but the roots tightened, binding her in place. No. No. She roared, determination surging through the nausea threatening to consume her. Her hands gripped something hard in the dirt. It was smooth, cold to her touch, but it pulsed with energy. With exhilaration, she pulled it from the earth, a jagged, obsidian stone, dark as secrets. The moment it broke the surface, a horrific screech pierced the haunting atmosphere. The shadows recoiled, wailing as the void twisted around them, agitated and furious. Stop! You don't know what you're doing. Mrs. Gibbon's voice rang out, laced with fury, as if dislodging the very essence of the forest. Laura held the stone high, defiance fueling her resolve. Where's Emma? She demanded, her breath steadying, even as the darkness roared around her. Joining us forever, Mrs. Gibbons hissed, and shadows swarmed, desperate to reclaim their prey. They were clawing, grasping so close, yet the light from the stone flared brighter, pushing back against the encroaching dark, but even as the shadows recoiled, Laura's heart sank. Was she truly saving her daughter, or bringing doom upon them both? In that moment, a piercing clarity struck her. The stone's light revealed a pathway through the fog. It shimmered like a beacon, a promise of escape and possibly a chance to find Emma before it was too late. What choice would she make? Risk throwing away her chance at freedom to reclaim her daughter, or descend deeper into the shadows? With renewed determination, Laura bolted toward the light, fear still gnawing at her heels. But what she would discover at the end of that path, would it be her salvation or an even darker fate? Laura ran, her feet pounding against the damp earth, heart racing against the fear that pursued her like a ravenous beast. The shadows lurked close, a swirling void of despair, but the light from the obsidian stone cut through the suffocating darkness, guiding her, urging her forward. As she raced down the glowing path, twisted branches reached out from either side like skeletal hands trying to pull her back. The strong wind howled, filling her ears with icy whispers, taunting her with imagined specters of her past failures. She fought the urge to look back, to see what horrors might be trailing her in that abyss. Emma! She called, voice cracking with urgency. The name echoed off the trees, ricocheting through the fog that clung to her like a shroud. Would her daughter respond, or had the forest already claimed her? A flicker of movement caught her eye just beyond the edge of light. She hesitated, heart pounding against her ribcage. Shadows twisted into familiar silhouettes. Could it be? No. I want to be tricked again. Laura shouted defiantly, pushing her way past the creeping dread. The glowing stone pulsed in her grip, a lifeline in the vast emptiness. Then she heard it, a soft cry, fragile, mingling with the whispers of the wind. Mommy! The sound was so close, so achingly familiar. Laura's breath hitched, and she stumbled forward, guided by that single, desperate plea. The path narrowed, constricting, and her heart raced, thrumming to the frantic rhythm of adrenaline. Shadows loomed closer, spurred by her wavering resolve, their hollow eyes glistening like broken promises. They murmured around her, trying to pull her into their embrace. Stay with us, we need you. No. Emma needs me. She screamed, using all her strength to push through the encroaching dark. The cold licked at her skin, a tangible fear clawing at her mind. The cries grew louder, sharper. Mommy. Please. With each frantic step, Laura felt the dark forces trying to tear her away from the light. The stone flared with an intensity that took her breath away, illuminating the way. Just ahead, a dim outline emerged, a small figure trapped within a swirl of shadows. Emma. A wave of hope surged through her as she lunged forward. But just as quickly, her excitement morphed into terror. The shadows thickened, coiling tighter around the silhouette. Was it a trap? Would she lose her daughter again? Mommy, help. Emma's voice shimmered in the air, filled with fear and longing. The response was immediate. A chorus of hisses erupted from the shadows, a warning that sent chills racing down Laura's spine. As she reached for Emma, the shadows pushed back, a cascade of darkness that threatened to consume both mother and daughter. You can't take her. Laura cried, raising the obsidian stone high. The glow flared brighter, flooding the space with blinding light. The shadows shrieked, twisting and warping, but they wouldn't relent. They surged forward, desperate like wind closing in on an extinguished flame. Join us. Echoed a familiar voice. Mrs. Gibbons, but twisted and distorted. She's one of us now. No. Laura screamed, fighting against the crushing weight of despair. The stone pulsed violently, and a surge of energy coursed through her, burning bright. With renewed courage, she hurled it toward the swirling mass of darkness, but as the stone flew, the shadows screamed, "You can't do this." An explosion of light erupted, but with it came a rush of icy air that stole Laura's breath. When the brilliance faded, she gasped in horror at what she saw or didn't see. The shadows were gone, replaced by an eerie calm. Emma? She whispered, dread settling heavy in her stomach. Where are you? Silence enveloped her, thick and impenetrable. Had she lost her daughter forever? Or had the darkness merely regrouped, preparing for its final assault? Laura stepped cautiously into the empty space, feeling the weight of the void wrap around her once more. Deep in her gut, panic coiled, mixing with a glimmer of hope. As she scanned the sodden ground, she saw it, a small, glimmering tear on the soil. The last thing she could have expected was the faint pulse of warmth emanating from it. What new horror could she unlock with the choices now laid before her? The warmth radiated from the tear like a heartbeat, drawing Laura closer. It shimmered with a strange, alluring pull, almost like it was alive. Was this a portal? A beacon? She hesitated, fingers trembling as she reached out to touch it. The moment her skin brushed against the earth, a shockwave of energy pulsed through her body, sending ripples of heat coursing from her fingertips to her core. Suddenly, chills swept through her as whispers began to rise from the soil, creeping into her ears like long-buried secrets clawing for release. Laura, they sang, the voices echoing sweetly, laced with an edge of malevolence. Come play with us. Terror flared in her chest, but curiosity held her in place. The tear spread wider, revealing more of its luminous glow, and for a fleeting moment, she saw it, a glimpse of a child, her child, caught in that radiant light. Emma's small face twisted in anguish, fingers reaching out desperately. Mommy! The voice cried again, shattering the fragile moment. It was more a plea than a call, thick with despair. The soil rippled violently, and shadows swept back over her like a wave. The warmth vanished, replaced by an icy grip that tightened around her throat. Laura staggered, fighting the panicked urge to flee as the whispers changed tone, morphing into taunts. Join us. Become one with the darkness. No. Emma. I won't leave you. I won't. Laura screamed, pulling away from the dark tendrils that slithered along her skin. Every minute felt like an eternity as she strained against the cold claws of the forest, breathing ragged gasps in the air as she searched for any hint of her daughter, but the shadows grew bolder, their forms shifting into grotesque figures, mocking her. She could almost see the faces of those who had once lived here, trapped forever in a cycle of dread. Memories flooded back, old friends, long-lost loves, and empty promises, all woven into the dark tapestry of the woods. It became harder to tell where the memories ended and the shadows began. With her grip still steady on the obsidian stone, Laura focused on the faint warmth in her palm, the flicker of hope it represented. "I am not afraid of you," she roared, channeling the flicker of bravery she had left. The shadows recoiled momentarily as if the very notion of defiance had struck them, but they quickly hissed back, angrier than before. "Leave this place," they whispered in a hollow chorus, "or be consumed by it." Laura turned her back on the shadows, ready to bolt in the opposite direction. But the ground shifted beneath her feet, causing her to stumble. She gasped as she fell, but something grasped her ankle, pulling her down into the darkness. "Mommy!" The cry echoed again, close yet distant, a siren-esque call urging her to stay. The shadows enveloped her, wrapping around her body like a suffocating blanket. She squirmed, trying to fight them off, but despair had settled in, dragging her deeper into the abyss. Just as it felt like she would be lost forever, a flicker of that tear caught her eye again. Its glow pulsated with promise, a chance to claim back what was lost. Suddenly, she remembered Emma's laughter, the way it had lit up the corners of her soul. Heart pounding, she fought against the pull, reaching for the tear with all the strength she had left. But what if the tear held more than just hope? What if the darkness was merely a reflection of her own grief, the price she would have to pay to bring her child back? As Laura felt her resolve waver, the shadows closed in tighter, their chilling whispers drawing her toward oblivion. She had to make a choice before it was too late. Would she surrender to the darkness, or would she risk everything to uncover the light? Time twisted around her as she made her decision. What awaited her on the other side? The moment Laura's fingertips brushed the glowing tear, the world spun violently. The forest around her warped, shifting like quicksand, crumbling underfoot into shadows of despair. Her scream caught in her throat, a shattered echo lost in the chaos as darkness seeped into her vision. Suddenly, the pull of the tear intensified, a magnetic force that ignited her panic. "Mommy!" That voice, Emma, it wrapped around her heart like barbed wire, tugging her back toward the light. She gritted her teeth and clawed her way through the oppressive darkness. Each inch gained felt like fighting against a torrential current. The whispers grew louder, thrumming in her ears, demanding her attention. "Come play with us," they promised, solace but dripped with a hunger that made bile rise in her throat. Memories shifted with the darkness, faces twisting into terrified masks. Her own parents' voices merged with the shadows, distant warnings begging her to turn back. "You cannot trust it." But Emma's voice soared above the cacophony. It was urgent, pleading, so real. Laura clamped her fists around the stone in her palm as if it could shield her spirit from the overwhelming tide of darkness. She had to keep going. She had to reach her. Each step was a battle. The shadows wrapped around her legs like tendrils, and the cold seeped into her bones. She pushed against the fear, forcing herself to breathe. As memories of happiness flickered through her mind, Emma's laughter, the warmth of shared moments, Laura found glimpses of strength amid the despair. With a burst of defiance, she dove forward, not caring if the shadowy figures were real or just products of her instincts. The ground rippled beneath her, threatening to pull her down. The icy hands reached for her, gripping and scraping, but she fought with every ounce of will. Suddenly, the shadows recoiled as if struck. The tear pulsed brighter, illuminating the darkness around her, offering a path forward. Just a few more steps. She could see it. A glimmer of pale fingers reaching for her through the rift. "Mommy! Please!" Emma's voice filled her. It was enough to ignite a burning rage against the shadows that sought to claim her forever. Laura surged forward, bridging the gap between despair and hope. Then it happened. The ground beneath her split with a crack that echoed like a gunshot through the woods. Laura staggered, falling into the rift as the very family she fought for emerged. Abruptly, she found herself inside the tear, enveloped in warmth, not the warmth of light, but of living memory. She turned to see a tableau of her past, the birthday parties, the Christmas mornings, laughter ringing clear as crystal, but it didn't last. A rush of voices swirled around her, taunting. "This is all you'll ever have. They screeched, each memory morphing into a trap. The laughter twisted into cries, beautiful moments soured by fear. Shadows flanked her, whispering tales of loss that interlaced with those memories. "You don't deserve this." As confusion swallowed her, she felt at the icy grip of the darkness clawing at her heart. Reality fragmented. What she thought was hope turned into a prison. The shadows surged forward, shattering her memories, breaking the bridge to Emma. "Emma!" She screamed, but it was too late. The last image of her daughter melted away like mist, desperation clawed at her throat. What had she done? Just as the shadows threatened to consume her completely, something flickered inside her. The obsidian stone glowed fiercely in her palm, glowing brighter than before. It erupted into a blinding flash, a hot pulse rebounding through her veins. She felt it, a resonating truth that vibrated against the air. Every past hurt, every whisper of despair, suddenly came together, connecting to the very essence of her love for Emma. Yes. It was then she realized, the shadows fed on fear and grief. But maybe, just maybe, love could burn them away. If she tapped into that light within, she could forge a path back. "Emma!" She shouted again, the word a spell, a key. Would it open the door to return? Then came a shake, a quaking intensity threatening to tear apart the veil separating her from the unearthly realm. As the shadows writhed and hissed, she braced herself. Could she reclaim her daughter's spirit, or had she lost it forever? Darkness rippled around her as everything began to unravel again. The familiar voice of Emma, though faint, pierced through the chaos. "Mommy. Find me." Would she succumb to the fate prescribed by the shadows, or would she find the strength to fight back for her child? The collision of memory and despair left her teetering on the brink of her choice once more, and time unraveled further, as echoes faded into whispers. Light exploded around Laura, shattering the darkness that had gripped her soul. Yet, the pulsing brightness revealed only more peril. The shadows curled back but didn't dissolve. Instead, they morphed, their forms twisting and set on creating an insidious labyrinth of doubt. "Emma!" She cried again, her voice hoarse but louder, echoing with desperation. Each breath was like fire in her lungs, charging her resolve. But with every heartbeat, the chilling echo of past regrets clawed at her sanity. The shadows flickered, sneering at her struggle, filling her mind with images of failure, each moment vibrating with the question, what if she couldn't save her after all? The ground quaked beneath her as she spun in place, trying to sense the direction of her daughter's voice. "This is a game, dear Laura," a whisper cooed, dripping with mockery. "Let us see how far you'll go for a lost little girl." Tendrils of cold brushed against her skin. For every step she took towards what she hoped was Emma, the shadows shifted closer, suffocating her with invisible weight. The obsidian stone pulsed defiantly, fueling her with warmth, yet doubt dripped through her resolve like poison. "Find your light," a voice murmured, distorting with unholy glee. But what light could shine in a tower built of despair? The stone felt heavy, the weight pressed down on her hand, chaining her with uncertainty. Before she could muster her strength, a wicked laughter tore through the air, echoing off the tree trunks. "Look at you, so desperate," it hissed. "What will you sacrifice? In this realm, nothing is given without a cost." Suddenly, the memories around her twisted, as if becoming sentient. Each joyful reminiscence knit with shadows, stretching into grotesque parodies of what should have been. The laughter of children morphed into howls of anguish while birthday candles burned black. Laura felt nauseous as the flood of memories turned rancid, the joy charred by sorrow. "No!" she screamed, shaking her head as if to clear the madness that threatened to engulf her. "I won't let them take you from me." The pulsing light intensified within her grip. She realized the stone wasn't merely a conduit, it was a mirror reflecting her soul. Fear had taken root, but deeply buried was an ember of hope too. For Emma she would fight until her last breath. "Mommy!" The voice shot through the darkness, clearer now. Laura's heart raced, the sheer willpower ignited a fire that surged through her. "Emma, I'm coming." She squared her shoulders and leaped through the haze of shadows. The darkness writhed and shrieked, but she pushed past, the grip of despair loosening in the face of her unwavering love. "You're not real," she shouted to the shadows, fury driving her as she charged ahead, but just as she cleared the haze, a wall of black surged toward her, a wave of dread crashing down, wrapping around her throat. "You think love can conquer all?" The disembodied voice cackled. For a second, doubt wormed its way into her heart. The shadows were relentless, enveloping her, and warmth faltered. Then, out of the mass of grief, a flicker of recognition glinted in her mind of Emma's laughter during cold winter nights, the way she'd hold her hands with trust for an eternity. "I love you," she belted, as if the very sound could cut through the darkness. Light erupted anew. The shadows shrieked and reared back, twisting in agony at the sound. Laura let the energy swell, calling forth every ounce of love she held. As she channeled it through the stone, she felt barriers shatter, breaking the suffocating grip of the dark, but the shadows writhed in a final desperate surge, threatening to swallow her whole. "You will regret this," the voice thundered. It echoed unlike any sound before, vibrating through her very bones. Laura's breath hitched. The pulsing glow wrapped itself tighter around her heart. She could almost glimpse Emma beyond her bright eyes shimmering through the enshrouding darkness. "I will find you," she cried, pushing forward against the crash of darkness that loomed ahead, but just when she thought she had won, the shadow's laughter slashed through her confidence one last time, deep, malevolent, full of dread. "You think you are so strong, but the greatest fear springs from within. The choice you will have to make will be darker than any shadow." A sudden stillness engulfed her. Was this the moment of truth? What did the shadows know that she didn't? A new horror began to dawn as she hesitated on the precipice of destruction. Her heart raced. What would she sacrifice for her child? The answer lurked just outside her vision, and fear consumed her once more as she prepared to confront the ultimate horror. Laura stumbled forward, her feet heavy with dread, as shadows lashed out like vicious serpents. They elongated into grotesque hands, clutching at her in an unending search for weakness. Shivering from the cold, she clutched the pulsing obsidian stone, straining her senses against the dark. This was supposed to be her weapon, the light she needed to pierce through the black veil. But was it also the shackle binding her to the very darkness she fought? "Emma!" she cried, desperation stretching her voice thin. Each syllable ripped through the silence, but the abyss responded only with mocking laughter, an orchestra of damnation playing on her fears. She felt the weight of every slight regret, every moment she'd let her daughter down, inching closer, wrapping around her throat, constricting her breath. The swirling shadows whispered insidiously, each word cutting deep. "You want to save her, don't you? But tell me, Laura, what are you willing to bleed for her? What sin will you bear?" The question echoed. The reality slashed deeper than she thought possible. Could it be that the shadows would take more than just pain? With a jolt, she recalled a time, a distant summer night where she had chosen work over family, a dinner missed, a laugh unheard. It cut through her mind like a jagged shard, the memory corrupting the present. Could those moments be the very armor the shadows fed on? She gasped, the stone dimming in her palm. She pushed forward against the walls of twisted darkness, but every step was like moving through thick mud. "No!" The scream tore at her throat. "You want to take her. I will find her." The air shifted, the shadows recoiling as if struck. Laura felt new strength coursing through her, but it came at a cost. A searing heat flared through her chest, pulling at her heart like a dark string. What lay ahead could be the very last step she'd take. Out of the murk, light glimmered, a sliver of hope piercing through all the black. "Mommy!" Emma's voice hit her like a lightning bolt. Against all odds, it was real. Racing towards the sound felt like entering a burning inferno. Each pulse of warmth made her take another step into the fury, the shadows clawing and gnashing, choking her resolve. She could almost see her daughter now, a faint silhouette shimmering at the far end, but then, the shadows surged again, renewed and fierce. "Did you think you could just walk away? You're not the savior here. There's a price." The ground trembled, fragments of her old decisions scattering like brittle leaves in a gust of wind. Laura's breath quickened, panic surging through her limbs as uncertainty twisted around her heart. The whispers escalated, circling her mind. What will you sacrifice to save her? Images of Emma flashed before her eyes, laughter echoing in the park, little hands molding clay, blue eyes sparkling with wonder. Each sweet moment began to fade, dissolving into an agonizing reminder of what lay at stake. Laura felt her heart thrumming against her ribs. Every beat was a crude reminder that to find Emma, she might have to give up parts of herself. Could she? The shadows roared at her doubts, their malevolent presence tightening like a vice. Choose, Laura. Choose. The voice was loud now, almost triumphant, like they could sense her hesitance. As an unseen force shoved her deeper into the eternal darkness, she fought back with everything left in her. I will, she pleaded, but laughter drowned her out, echoing through the oppressive void. Then, in a moment of madness, she shouted, I'll give anything. And the darkness surged, redoubling its grasp on her as it whispered sweet promises and terrifying bargains. Laura froze, the weight of her vow thrumming ominously through the shadows. They shifted, circling, almost like they understood. The air thickened, smothering her. What would she lose? And what awaited her if she couldn't face the truth behind the shadows? The ground gave way beneath her, and she fell into the blackness. In that infinite descent, her thoughts spiraled. Would she truly pay the price? This was no longer just about love. It was about what it meant to be a mother in hell. And then, a chilling thought struck her. Could love itself become the greatest terror of all? She clawed for grip as the darkness whispered sweetly, promising unimaginable horrors if she continued down this path of despair. What was the darkness plotting, and what would it ask of her next? Laura's body slammed against the cold, unyielding earth, the darkness swirling around her like a tempest. She gasped, her heart racing, despair clawing at her throat. Emma, she cried out, the sound echoing back, mingled with the chilling laughter of shadows. Her mother's heart was a battlefield, love against fear, light against dark. You're lost, dear, the shadows crooned, their voices seductive and deceitful. You can't escape what you have done. No. Laura shouted, forcing herself to stand amidst the chaos. Every step she took felt like swimming against a tidal wave of regret and dread. The shadows coiled tighter, whispering memories of her failures, carving deep lines of guilt across her heart. The missed moments with Emma, the times she chose work over laughter, over love. Each memory felt like chains binding her, yet she clung to the flicker of hope that blazed like a fragile candle in the storm. Emma, she called again, piercing through the veil of despair. She remembered her daughter's face, small and radiant, filled with life. That vivid image was a lifeline, a tether to pull her back into the light. Suddenly, a piercing scream shattered the air, a soul-wrenching call that brought her rushing forward. Mommy! I'm here. Emma's voice echoed through the shadows, and with it came the determination that surged like fire. Where are you, baby? Laura cried, her legs propelled by the urgency of that voice, keeping fear at bay. She thrust the obsidian stone high above her head, feeling its warmth pulse in sync with her heartbeat. I will not let you take her. The shadows writhed, a chilling symphony of hisses filling the air. But she pressed on, heart hammering in her chest as she pushed through the thick tendrils of darkness. Each step forward felt like a rebirth, stripping away layers of despair. Clarity flooded her mind, allowing her strength to overcome doubt. I am not afraid of you. She shouted, her voice wielding power. Defiance mingled with primal love. The shadows recoiled, a moment of hesitation lingering as Laura forced her way down the path illuminated by the stone. Emma! I'm coming. She refused to falter. The air was thick with malevolence, but the fire in her heart burned brighter, illuminating the way forward. Finally, she reached what appeared to be a clearing, a hollow ring of light at the center, radiating warmth. In the middle stood Emma, her small frame surrounded by creeping shadows that swirled like a storm around her. The sight of her girl ignited a flame of hope that flickered inside Laura, illuminating paths previously shrouded in mystery. Mommy, please. Emma reached toward her, eyes wide with fear, the shadows darkening her small form. In that moment, everything around Laura grew quiet, time suspended while she registered the cost that had been with her all along. The shadows hissed louder, rising taller, as if trying to extinguish the light of hope that seeped in through Laura's very soul. You want to save her? Then give yourself. They screeched in cacophony. No. Laura shouted. I will not sacrifice my love. I will fight for my daughter. With that resolve, she advanced further, forcing shadows apart like the Red Sea. You have no hold on us. In the blink of an eye, shadows lunged at her, but she held the stone firmly against the encroaching dark. A brilliant light erupted forth, illuminating everything, roots retracting and shadows screaming as though they were on fire. Emma! Laura called again, reaching out with everything she had. The pull of her daughter was magnetic. Hope thrummed through her as she closed the distance. Mommy! Emma cried, her arms outstretched into the brilliant glow. As Laura grasped Emma's hand, shockwaves radiated from their connection. Instantly, the energy surged through both of them, light cascading, darkness receding. The air vibrated, a soothing wave sweeping over them, washing away doubt and despair. In that moment, the shadows recoiled, shrieking in rage. You will regret this. Echoed their voices. Holding her daughter tight, Laura felt power unlike anything before. Love was larger than the dark. It filled every crevice of her being, coursing through Emma as they joined together in a radiant embrace of pure light. Let us go home, Laura whispered, knowing they would escape this nightmare together. They sprinted forward, unity propelling them through the chaos, back toward the sliver of hope that shimmered at the end of the clearing. As they approached the light, the shadows clawed and screeched, desperate to reclaim what they had lost. But Laura held Emma close, grounding herself in their love. We are stronger, she reminded herself, not looking back. In a final blaze of brilliance, they surged into the light, leaving behind the darkness. With one heartbeat, they broke free. The world around them shimmered and transformed, colors blooming like spring after a long winter. They stood together in a sunlit field, the darkness dissipating like fog under the morning sun. Emma looked up, relief flooding her features. Mommy, are we safe now? Yes, Laura breathed, wrapping her arms around her daughter. Tears of joy streamed down her cheeks as she knelt beside her. We're home. We're safe. Together, they embraced the warmth of the sun, knowing battles would lie ahead but filled with a newfound strength, an unbreakable bond between mother and daughter, illuminated by love that neither shadows nor burdens could extinguish, but amidst the solace, a lingering lesson remained, a whisper of truth forged from pain. Love is fierce, relentless, and can pierce through even the darkest of storms. And as they stood embraced under the golden light, from a distance, a soft breeze rustled through the leaves, carrying with it a promise, a reminder of resilience, reminding all that in every ending, there is a chance for a new beginning. Time stopped, the laughter and love echoing, holding the shadows at bay forevermore. Now, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will leave you breathless. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help others experience this tale. Don't forget to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. Your support means everything.